I started to feel really sick of myself. This act was just so draining for me. There was no peace in my heart. I literally felt at one point of my life, Cindy, you're rotting. You're literally rotting on the inside. My book is not supposed for you to fix it. It's supposed for you to face yourself. When we face ourselves in all honesty, we strip the BS of its power.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Wholehearted Podcast. And today, I'm really excited to have my good friend for many years, fellow speaker, trader, and coach, Cindy Tien, certified speaking professional. Welcome, Cindy, to the Wholehearted Podcast.
Hello, Coen. I'm so glad that we're doing this finally.
Finally, it's been a few months actually.
Yes.
Cindy's very busy, and she also wants a podcast. I was on a podcast as well, but finally she appears on the Wholehearted Podcast.
Yes.
And what a great time, because Cindy has just published a book called Inside: Break Through Your BS to Influence Yourself. And I think that's what she does, help leaders to do, right? So Cindy, maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit more about this book first?
Yeah, sure. You know what? We actually just did the book launch in November 2025. It was a blast. And this was an entire 7-year journey. It has taken everything out of me, blood, sweat, tears, lungs, and pancreas. But it was so difficult to write this. Essentially, the heart of this book is about facing yourself very truthfully, very honestly, calling out your own BSs. And by BSs, I mean, it could be a blind spot. It could be a bull story, which is something that you tell yourself to get out of discomfort. Or it could be your belief system. So I think the idea to this is facing yourself truthfully. And when you can shine a light on your BS, that's when the BS loses its power. So that's what the book is really, the heart of it is, that's what it's about.
Thank you for sharing with us about the book. We'll dive deeper into the book later and also a bit of your story. So now let's just start with a few standard questions we always ask our guests. First question, what does being wholehearted mean to you?
Thank you for sharing with me that question initially, because it got me thinking a lot about it. What does wholehearted mean? And I was thinking about what does half-hearted means. So that's the opposite of being wholehearted. So half-hearted means that we do things conservatively. We do things sparingly. We do things probably unwillingly. So wholehearted is the opposite, right? So when I think about somebody who's wholehearted and somebody who probably shows up giving their all, somebody who expresses their love in every communication cue that they own, somebody that geeks out in learning about something they're passionate about. Yeah, actually, I just went for a cruise recently with my family. And on a cruise, there's usually a lot of older citizens. And there was a dancing class, and I thought, I'm just going to go with my mom. The dancing class is free, 45 minutes. And I saw one lady there. She was just twerking and gyrating and posing. And I was like, oh no, my hips are stiff. Oh no, what people look at me. So she was definitely wholehearted. And I was half-hearted. It got me thinking about that because I was actually very uncomfortable in that dance class. But it was also a bit of reflection on myself.
Maybe dance is not your thing, but writing a book, blood,
It
sweat,
is my
tears, and
thing. I
pancreas.
was just conscious of myself. But it was amazing to see that somebody can just go all out there to engage in something that they love. And I love dance as well, but I had to think about why is it that I'm so uncomfortable?
And that brings us to the next question. What do you think are obstacles holding people back from living wholeheartedly?
I think there are many elements. One of it could be the lack of confidence, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I think we think about confidence, and maybe because I've not attended enough dance classes, so I'm wondering if, hey, do I look weird or not? No? Like I say, my hips stiff, right? People are going to look at me and judge me. I think so. Lack of confidence is one. The other thing could be people might, and this is common, exhaustion, right? Lack of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I do a full day training, I go back. I do not want to be wholehearted with my husband. He wants to be like, dear, I want to talk to you. He wants to talk to the wee hours in the night. I say, all I want to do is stare at the ceiling. So I can't be wholehearted with you. So lack of energy, exhaustion. And sometimes it's also lack of permission as well. Lack of permission. So when I was writing this book, there were people who came and said, Cindy, the word BS, it's risky. It's mildly profane. Yeah. And are you sure that's what you want to put of yourself to the world? And I was like, but I am quite profane. And I'm somebody who likes to take this. So do I want to own it? Or do I want to be safe about it? And I think in that aspect, I chose to be more wholehearted, to own that part of myself, rather than to put a safe half-hearted of myself out there.
Yeah, you're only the whole part of you.
Okay.
Yeah, but really, I really like that the piece about the permission. Right? It's very often we are waiting for people to give us permission, right? But you're never going to get a permission from anyone. Just talking to another guest of ours, and she's saying something like, we sometimes say things like, we missed the train. But the question is, do you even know the train arrived in the first place? So if you don't even know the train arrived in the first place, how can you have missed the train? Like, what train? Are you waiting for permission? What are you waiting for? I recently heard this over the Diaries of CEO, man, and Brené Brown was sharing with Stephen Bartlett, right? He said he has this system where he comes home from work and she tells her husband, hey dear, I'm on a 10% today. My battery is 10%. Or some days she comes back, I'm on 50%, I'm on 60%. So after a full day of training, you come back, you can just tell your husband, hey, no, I'm on 10% today. And so it is transparent, it is open, it is wholehearted.
Yes.
So
I never thought of it that way. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's real, right? This community's real.
Yes, and I do that. I actually do that. I'm very expressive as a person. So I will tell you, hey, darling, I'm really not in the mood today. And I'm very troubled by something, or I'm just so tired that the only thing I can do is lie down right now. So I let him know and I express it, and he usually understands.
That's nice.
Yeah, I do that. And also for us, when we do full day training, how tired we get at the end of the day. Our energy levels are up all day. So because of that, I'm also very mindful about, that's for me, about meeting people after training. Because I feel that at this age, my energy is limited as compared to before. So I feel like if I do that, I will be giving them the leftover of my energy. And I don't really want that. I would rather meet you when I'm fresh, I'm ready, I can give you my all.
That's so nice. That's very meaningful. Thanks for sharing that. That's very meaningful. Now let's talk a little bit about the profanity.
Okay.
we start right at the deep end, okay?
Tell us.
Yeah, we go right there.
Yeah.
I've known you for some time. I've listened to some of your speeches, and in your book also you write about how you used to be a gangster in school. So how did you end up becoming a gangster? How did you get there? Okay.
Yes, I did beat up people when I was a child, but that was beyond 15 years old. I never did any of that anymore. So I think for me, how I got there, and this actually came up when I reflected on my journey and what had really happened that got me to be there. So I came from a family where my parents, when I was young, both parents were working. My dad used to be a cabin crew, and then he retired. My mom has a full-time job as a secretary. And I'm very thankful that both my parents are educated. But on my mom's side, a lot of the uncles and aunties are not educated. So anyway, when we were young, because both my parents had full-time jobs, they did not have the bandwidth to take care of me. So I was being passed from neighbors to nannies. And some of them were kind. Some treated me like I was like a third-class turnip, like I call it, third class, an extra left-out piece of coleslaw. So that was tough because I think when I was a kid, I didn't know how to articulate what was happening. My mom was asking me, hey, how come people were treating you badly and didn't tell us? I don't know how to tell. I thought that was normal, right? And then when I was 6 years old, I was brought home. I was being taken care of by my grandmother, who then already had another 11 children to take care of. So I was, again, the extra one. So in a sense, never really treated as very important and always being felt like, okay, you're extra, know that you're an extra, right? So there was zero level of you're important at home.
So you felt unloved?
Very unloved, very invisible. So when I went to school, I realized that when I acted up and I became a bully, I was very seen. When I threatened somebody and I slapped somebody, I had a lot of applause. Yeah. Suddenly, I had girls who were like, oh, I want to be a part, together with you, Cindy, I want to be a part of in a sense, Cindy's like posse and the gang, right? So there was Cindy and Karen. I had another girlfriend who was like, we were beating people up for no reason and for absolutely no reason, just because they're existing. So we went threaten people, beat up people. And there was one time I actually slapped a girl that was double my size. Wow. And I loved it. I was so proud of myself. Finally, you're doing something great with your life. So from invisible to suddenly being powerful, and I was rewarded for that. And of course, I chose the power. I would rather be powerful than be invisible anytime. So I can understand why children do the things they do. I totally understand.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. When you say rewarded, I know you meant psychologically, emotionally. Yes. We always want to feel strong, not weak. We want to feel like we belong. We want to feel important, significant. We want to feel powerful, not vulnerable and at other people's mercy. So it rewarded you emotionally and psychologically. Yeah. Right? You fulfill a need. And that is a source of fascination for me as well, because I come from a very different background. When I was young, my parents always tell me, study hard. My life was really school, home, homework, extra assessment book.
Wow.
Perform well in school. I always perform, not because I love studying, but because that's how my parents saw me. So I was never like gangster. I was actually the one who get picked upon and get bullied. So really talking to you about this really is very interesting, very intriguing, very fascinating for me, because
total opposites of each other. We're like good friends right now. But was that studying, was it something that you wanted yourself, or were you like motivated to study, or your parents was very strict and made?
Mainly my mom, because I just wanted to please my mom. That's what I saw. And for me, I studied really to please my mom, as a form of not wanting to give my mom more problems, more stress, more pressure.
That's very sweet of you, and so mature at that age.
I wouldn't call it mature. I guess I just wanted to want to please my mom. So I wouldn't call it mature. I would say wanting to please parents is also part of every child wants to show love.
Okay, yeah, it's a maturity. I realized my mom had it tough as well, right? And I made it even tougher for her. I'm like, okay, it's tough on you, and I'm going to run away from home now so that you get shit. I honestly wasn't even really thinking about her. I was just thinking about how unwelcomed I am at home and how much attention and love I wanted when I was outside. So I did not even think about my parents at that time. So you did.
I guess it's a different kind of challenge. For me, is because of the violence at home and conflict at home, it was about safety for me.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, it's about love, right? Belonging. Yeah. I remembered how when you were staying at your auntie's place, when your mom would only pick you up to go home on the weekends.
Yeah.
And you say, Mom, can you stay with me for a while more? Like, why must I go to auntie's house? And I remember, whereas I read in a book, the story is very vivid to me. How you can tell the story better, but I just remembered how you were excluded at your auntie's place. They will be eating supper, but you're not invited to eat. When you're with your grandmother, it's like she had to take care of 11 other kids, but that's one thing. She favored boys over girls, and she actually even verbalized by saying to you, nobody loves you. So I can see how that made you feel so rejected, made you feel like you're an aberration, like you don't belong.
Yeah, and it was so interesting that even at that age, right? So again, sometimes we wonder, why is this child behaving like that? My mom used to ask me, why are you like that? Your brother is not like that. So there's this quote by Gabriel Mate. He said, trauma is not what happens to you, it's what happens inside you. Yeah, so my brother might have experienced a totally different thing, because my grandmother was really nice to him. We were all poor, but she wasn't nice to me. So I think it's what went on inside me. So sometimes we ask ourselves, why is it that children behave the way they do? You never know what actually happened. Because at that time, all I knew is I didn't feel special, but I didn't feel that I was being mistreated, because they fed me, they gave me food. It wasn't like luxurious things, but I was surviving. So sometimes I think a lot of it is, that's why I'm so passionate about this idea of emotional intelligence, emotional leadership, emotional resilience, because it's not just about knowing how you feel as an adult, and it's not just about throwing tantrums. It's the trauma that hit you, the pain that you were ingrained in you when you were a child, and that just simmers and it creates a ripple effect in how you behave when you grow up as an adult.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, for you, there was a deficit of love. That's one. The other thing is also that deficit of feeling like you're the last one.
Yeah.
And you don't belong. What you wanted to feel was a sense of power. And if you really look at it from a flip side, right, that requires some form of emotional intelligence as well. So you're always very sensitive to the emotional pecking order. It takes emotional intelligence to be a bully. It sounds weird, right? But it takes emotional intelligence to be a bully. Because one thing about bullies is they know who to pick on. You typically pick on certain people that you can bully. There are certain people you just don't want to bully.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's so true. I bully the nerds.
Yeah. Because you know that they don't have the ability to come back. Some bullies, some people just want to pick on them because you know what, they'll beat you back. You slap them, they slap you twice as hard. You just want to give them a white berth. You don't want to pick on them. The second type of people that bullies don't pick on are the people who just don't care. You bully them, they just look at you like, okay, and they move on. That's no fun, bullying people like that. But you tend to...
You don't get a reaction out of them.
Yes.
It's not shook at all.
Yeah.
If I want to bully you and you just tell me something intellectual, I'm like, what? Not interested in this.
Not the same frequency.
Yeah.
So they're not giving you the reaction that you wanted to get out of them. And then so you're not being rewarded in a sense. So you tend to have this emotional sensitivity to know who you want to pick on. Obviously, one is for malevolent utilization. One of it is utilized in a more benevolent way. So you went from this like bully in school, this alien.
Yes.
And then where do you go next after that? I know you went somewhere very glamorous.
Yeah, I did. Actually, at a very young age, I figured that, by the way, I wasn't good in my grades because I was so uninterested in studying. Because I started partying at a very young age, right? You hang out with the baddies and the bad boys. And I was very uninterested in studying. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to finish my secondary school education. I only took like diploma and degree much later in my life, in my 20s, I think. But I figured that, hey, my grades are not good. I'm not going to fight in that game. So I decided that I'm going to cut my education short. I literally dropped all subjects except the 3 that were necessary for me to get my O-level certificate. And I'm like, that's enough, because that's the only thing that will qualify for me to join the airline. Because at that time, and during my time now, it's different. In order for me to get into the airline that I wanted to get in, you just needed, I think, 3 O-levels, if I'm not wrong. And especially as long as your English is passed, it's good enough. So I was like, okay, minimally, I'm just going to be able to get this. I'm going to be able to go in the airline. And yeah, I joined the airline. I was a flight attendant for 6 years, all the way until I joined when I was 19. I left when I was 25.
You talk about maturity, right? Were you mature enough for you to say, you know what? I am like a bottom feeder. I'm not good in school. I'm an alien. By most markers of a typical standard Singaporean model student, you are basically on the wrong end of it. You are like not doing well in school. You know, you suck at school. Do you feel demoralized? Do you feel like the world is leaving you behind?
About my grades?
Yeah, because this whole narrative in Singapore is you go to IT, it's the end. You're not viewed favorably by Singapore society. Do you feel that despair?
I never did. I never did because even in my family, nobody is like super highly educated. I've got uncles that sell fish balls.
Okay.
My parents both are English speaking.
Okay.
And they are decent jobs. They are surviving. So there wasn't really, and I mean, we were young, right? So even my cousins were all young at that age. So nobody's really like PhD holders, honors yet. And I figured that you make use of whatever you have. And when I was young, I was really hanging out with people. And even my mom used to tell me, she said that, do you know that even when you were a kid, you were already like maturing out of your own age and your own body? You hang out with people much older than you. So when I was a teenager, all my friends were already in their 20s and 30s. I had a boyfriend that was 18 years older than me.
Wow.
When I was 17, he was double and one more year older than me.
Wow.
And he was like doing well. He wasn't highly educated. So I never felt that academics was a huge thing.
So fascinating. My family, academics is everything. Because my mom will always tell me, your Ai's daughter, your cousins, they are studying in Harvard, they are studying in Hwa Chong JC, they are Raffles. You better study, if not you cannot keep up with them. And I always had this pressure. So it's very fascinating. It's like so interesting how like our household, the culture, the standards they set, the bar they set, the narrative they set for the entire family. I was in Anglican High. I was in a SAP school, top 10 school in Singapore, and I felt depressed.
Wow.
Because every day the teachers will come in and scold us and say, you guys are the worst of the worst. You are so incorrigible. You guys are so lazy. You don't study. Your results are so bad. You put on the entire school ranking. And we felt like shit, basically. Yeah. And that shame really stayed with me for a long time also. I always felt my own way, like I felt slighted and put down. But it's interesting that you never felt that way, but you always felt like you will figure it out.
Yeah, I felt I'll figure it out. And also because I was in that school, I came from a girls' school, by the way. So thankfully I was in a girls' school because I think if I was in a Coen, one of those like typical Ah-Beng school, I would have been worse. So I was in a pretty good girls' school. And I remember at that time, it was like my mom had to come to school because I was so naughty and I was doing all sorts of rubbish in school, getting myself into so much trouble. My mother had to come to school at least 3 times to beg the principal not to expel me. So she was like, the minimum, finish your O-levels, then you do whatever you want. So that was in my thought, finish, do it, I'm out of this shit.
Was that your way of getting attention from your mom?
I don't think so. I'm not sure that I wanted attention from her, to be honest.
Okay. You just want her to leave you alone.
Yeah, I just wanted to go out and feel loved and feel important.
Okay.
I think that was the main thing. In fact, I really wanted them to give me all the freedom to go out and get all the love and importance, but they were always like holding me back. You cannot. So yeah.
When did you get your first boyfriend?
Oh my God. I think my first boyfriend, like literally the teenage type was, I think I was 11.
You were 11 when you had your first
11.
boyfriend?
Even when I was not even pre-teen, already there were like boys like writing little love letters to me.
Aww.
And they walk past the community center. We used to live in a shop house. You walk past and then boys would pass you a letter.
Aww.
Yeah, I already had that. But of course, when we were young, we were not. I mean, it was really like a bit of an innocent love lah. But yeah, I started really young. So even when I was a kid, I already started we talk about Enneagram quite a lot. It's like this fantasy of what it means to be a lover and to have somebody to fully engage with in terms of like your affections and emotions. I always have that playing in my mind. Like, who's the ideal lover for me? Even as a child, not sexually, but it's more like this person that I'm going to live with, the romanticize the idea of somebody.
You have a very vivid imagination.
I think so, as a child. So we were young because we were so poor. And then each family, we okay, I'm not going to keep saying I'm poor because it's not like we were dirt poor. Like, we had money to go to school, but of course we were in lack. Like, we didn't have extra money to buy things, but we used to live in like the entire family, one bedroom. Wow. Yeah, so... That's not comfortable.
That's not comfortable.
But it was something very common among my mom's side. Yeah, people would just like in the shop house, 4 families, each family 1 room. So we were like living like that. And then I remember because you don't have privacy, right? So the only time I had privacy is those days you have Walkman earphones in. I'll listen to all the love songs and the romanticizing songs and just thinking about who is this lover and this boyfriend of mine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was like my own space. And I really wanted to get out of that house, get out of that room, to go out to the world to experience it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. You know you want to become a cabin crew. You became a cabin crew. Was it a dream come true for you?
It was a dream come true when I got it.
Wow.
When I got it.
Wow.
It was like a suddenly from a shop house, a dingy shop house, or a room where you have to share with your family. you get to go and stay in swanky hotel rooms from somebody who had no money. You now make very decent money on your own. Those days you probably earn like easily 4,000 plus on good months, which at 19 years old, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And then it's also traveling the world.
In those days as well.
Yeah. Just going to London when you are like a 19-year-old, it's just all the glamour is there, right? Yeah, so it was everything I ever wanted at that age.
And was that an easy transition?
It was so difficult. It was so difficult. So whatever is glamorous on the outside doesn't mean it's good for you on the inside. I struggled a lot, actually. Yeah, I think it was... The job is not that difficult, but the conforming is very difficult. The conforming, and in the airline that I was in during those days, okay, it might not be the same now, and that was my experience now. You were expected to be submissive. You were expected to smile. You were expected to eat humble pie and say sorry 3 bags full. And that wasn't something I'm used to.
Yeah.
I beat up people. I don't say sorry to you, okay? So it was very, very tough. It really cracked into my ego. It really had to talk about edgy. They don't want edginess there. They want obedience. And it was very hard for me to smoothen out my edge, to conform. But I had to do it. I had to do it because this is a whole other story altogether. I was bullied really badly the first 3 months of me flying. So I figured that, Cindy, if you've got to survive, you need to smoothen out your edge and be a part of them.
So you went from this bullying others to now being bullied.
Yeah.
So was there a moment of reckoning like, I need to eat humble pie because now you're going to survive?
Yeah.
Was it like inside you're simmering, you're like really fighting back, you're like bitter inside?
So bitter. And it was one of those things that people would say shit directly to your face and you just literally have to smile and say thank you. That was not something I could swallow. I'm full of ego, remember? So it's really tough. And I remember it was one of those times where I remember it was a flight I did. It was a flight to New York. And the entire set of crew, each set of crew had 18, 19 in one set. Yeah, and I remember the entire set of crew didn't want to talk to me. I was the youngest, I was the most junior. I remember arriving in New York and then calling my boyfriend who was 18 years older than me. And I just screamed and I cried like, nobody likes me here. I don't know who I am. And then my boyfriend then tell them, your father. Who is your father? Because my father used to be a crew as well. I'm like, no, I don't know who I am. They don't know who he is. So I remember just going berserk about it. And eventually I got some feedback as to what are things I could change to become more likable. So I had to, for survival reasons, I had to conform. I felt that either you conform or you want to rebel, which is not helpful for yourself. You're going to get yourself into trouble. Or if you want to leave the airline, you can do that. But because if you were to leave within the first year, you have to pay the bond money. And I don't come from a family where we have extra money. So for me at that time, to survive, I had to conform.
How did you deal with that split personality? You know who you are inside, but then you need to conform into a certain way. How do you manage that transition? How do you manage that period of life?
And I'm glad we're talking about this because during those days, you don't even realize what you're doing. You just do what you had to do. It was almost like, split personality because the moment I'm somebody who don't really like to smile, to be honest, and I speak with a very low voice. So I had to like up my pitch a little bit. Every time I had eye contact, I'll good morning, and then smile with the teeth. And then to say things like, hey, so did you have a good rest last night? And I'm not used to doing things like that, but I learned to do it. But I think it just got really exhausting for me because I felt like this was a public face that I had to put on. And when you do things like that, you feel very misaligned and I started to feel really sick of myself. And good question as to how did I even cope? I couldn't cope. So this act was just so draining for me that when I went back to the room, all I want to do is just to smoke incessantly and drink to just, metabolize all of that crap away. And I didn't know how I was feeling.
The word is numb, yeah?
Yeah, to numb and to just get rid of this fact that there's so much unease in me. There's so much uneasiness. This is not me, this is misaligned. But I figured at that time, you got to do what you got to do, Cindy. Numb it, right? Since the time I was in my auntie's house. Why are you feeling so much? Numb it and just, you have to survive. You have to do this.
So you like really just numb yourself because you kind of feel like your needs are not important. You just always put it aside to fulfill other people's needs. Oh.
To play the game, to survive, to get on with life, you just have to do this.
Yeah,
Nobody has got time for your emotions, Cindy.
At the end of your 6 years, did you become more adapted? Do you become the more consumed cabin crew image profile of a successful cabin crew, or were your edges still living inside you and like really fighting to come out?
I think the edge in me never really went away, but I've learned to be adaptable. And I think the good thing about learning that was also, I think humility is one thing. We all can afford to have some level of eating humble pie. That's good. Under realizing that, hey, nobody gives a shit about you, Cindy. And I remember when I got bullied, it went straight into the moment where my grandmother said to me, Cindy, in Hokkien, she said, Cindy bolang ai le. It really got me to think about,
one love you.
No one gives a shit about you, Cindy. You buckle up and you learn to survive here.
Hey there! I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Don't worry, we'll be right back in a moment. Remember to show the Wholehearted Podcast some love by giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever platform you're consuming this podcast episode. Or give us a thumbs up on YouTube. If you think somebody will benefit from listening to this episode, why not share it with them as well? Your support will help us create a much greater impact. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the episode.
So after I did that for a while, it became a part of me to know how to be more adaptable, to know how to work with, the word I would use is sharks, because sometimes you go on different flights and then some people will be nice and some people will not be. I've met very good friends as well, but you always have to be on your toes because you never know, a senior crew might just want to say really mean things to you, write in a report about you. So I think to a certain extent, it does help me to have a lot more social awareness, to be able to read the room a lot more, to be able to adapt on the spot.
Emotional intelligence, Skin.
Yeah, it's a big part of that as well. Yeah, absolutely.
I also look at you now. You speak so elegantly. You have your own podcast. You're a speaker. You're a certified speaking professional. You're so elegant, right? So you have that edge in you, but you also have that softness in you. It's like this really just falls into this idea that you don't have to be one or the other. And I think I speak to many women. I'm not a woman myself, obviously, but I'm sure I work with a lot of clients. I've heard a lot of my clients, a lot of women in the corporate world tell me this, right? It's like sometimes in order to climb the corporate world, they have to man up. They have to be like one of the boys, right? They need to ask the guys like, hey, how's the soccer game? Do you stay up to watch the match? We need to know soccer terms and everything like that. And then for some women, it's more drastic. Like they need to put on pants, right? Big boy pants and suits and everything, just to dress up, just to climb the corporate game. They always feel like they need to put aside their femininity in order to climb the corporate game. And some other women are on the other extreme. They are really feminine, but not very feminine. They're more aggressive type, but they're almost like the more aggressive, edgier woman is not welcome in the corporate world because they expect you to turn out to be a little bit more submissive and more easygoing. And when a man is a little bit more aggressive, he's seen as ambitious and assertive. But when a woman is a little bit more edgy, she's seen as bitchy, right? That's the word.
Bossy.
Bossy, right? So then the women always have to smoothen out their edges. So can you speak something to that particular group of people? Like how do you manage this in-between space? How do you manage this balance?
Until now, I honestly don't know how I managed that, to be honest. And I remember even during those airline days, I had to, because I was putting on this like nice part and the smiling part of me. And not that I'm not nice to begin with. I'm a nice person, but I don't go all out to please and be warm to you, right? So I think it was more like giving myself the space to say, what if I had to do this, how much is enough? And I am going to do this to a certain extent, but when it goes to a certain limit whereby I'm not comfortable, I am just going to cut off in that sense. I'm just going to stay quiet. And I'm one of those people that I don't fancy very much hanging out with the rest of the crew after the flight. Yeah, I don't mind going for a dinner or so with you, but I'm not going to hang out with you all day unless you're somebody that I'm very close to. Mm-hmm. So I feel like at some point I want to put a stop to the act. Mm. Yeah, so that's how I do it. I think in the working world, of course, nowadays there are a lot of women empowerment talk, right?
Yeah.
Like, own your individualism and all that. I think we need to be very aware of cultural sensitivities. Social awareness is not just about yourself, it's what's needed at that point of time. Yeah. So navigate wisely.
Read the room.
Read the room. What is the best version of yourself that can show up? Yeah, don't be so stuck to who you are. I once heard of this quote, I think it's by Vin Jiang. He says, don't be so stuck to yourself in the present that you don't give your future self a chance. We are a lot more adaptable than we think. Mm. Yeah, and as long as that change is not poisoning you, it's not toxifying you, and it doesn't harm anybody, I would say, why not? Why not?
But you see on that note, right? Let's segue into this point where you were toxifying yourself.
Yes,
you're harming yourself. All that drinking, all that binge drinking in the room to numb your pain came at a cost.
Mine came at a cost.
Tell us more.
I feel like because a big part of me was I wasn't very healthy in the first place inside. I'm already somebody who feels unseen, unworthy, unloved, right? So when you go inside there and you get bullied and you're being put in an environment where people are catty, so you have to, in a sense, fight for your place a little bit more. You have to go out of your way to be nice, which kind of bothers me quite a lot. So that was one. Feeling not important, feeling that you have to be competitive. And maybe nobody else is competitive, but I am. It's very possible that it's just my own raging competition. And the third thing is just being very envious that other people are better than me. And I was somebody who was easily, and this is something that I had to work on a lot as I was growing up. I was somebody who was very easily jealous of others. I was very envious. So I'm always fighting emotions of shame that I'm not good enough. I'm always fighting emotions of unease. There was no peace in my heart. I was not like depressed, but you're just uneasy. And I was always fighting this emotion of hopelessness. This is it, Cindy. Life is just going to be like that.
But on the other hand, it's not like that, because when you did have this mindset of, I'm just going to go and be a cabin crew since I wasn't doing well in school. I don't feel hopeless. I don't feel like I'm like at the end of the academic ladder. I'm just going to be a cabin crew and I'm just going to, like, how hard can it be? Smile, serve orange juice and serve food. How hard can it be? You have this certain level of gung-ho-ness, a certain level of like gusto that you bring to things. And I think that's something that's special about you as well. You give yourself chance, you give yourself permission to do that.
I do give myself, but I think at that time it was more like I didn't know where else I could go. I figured that, I'm like 60 years old, I've reached my peak. This is the only place I want to go. So when I was in airline, I felt that I'm already at my peak. So it's just going to be like that already. Until I reached the next stage of my life where I fell sick and everything, then there was another whole story.
All those drinking caused you to need hip replacement. Tell us more about that.
So essentially, I was drinking so much that it became a really serious addiction. And we were just talking about the other guest earlier. So every night, it's kind of started with a beer just to have fun. After that, it became 3 beers. Then it became every night 1 bottle of wine.
Wow.
I remember going to a country and I remember touching down, and the first thing I wanted, it was a 6-day flight. And the first thing I wanted to do was to go to the supermarket and get 6 bottles of wine, because I figured 1 bottle each night, just nice for you, Cindy, to get to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, so for me, it was all that stress and the emotions that I couldn't metabolize that caused a lot of noise in my mind, and I could not sleep. So I had to drink to numb, I had to drink to sleep. And the thing with all of these substances is that the more you consume it, the original amount that you consume is no longer enough. So it has to get more and more. So from the wine to the whiskey to sleeping pills. And then after that, the sleeping pills was also 1 pill is no longer enough. You go to 2, 3, and then my personal record was the 8 pills and a bottle of whiskey. And then I blacked out for 24 hours and I wake up and I still go, okay, I'm just going to shower, put on my makeup and go and smile. It just went to that stage. And it got so bad. And this happened for a couple of years. Started feeling pain in my legs. To cut the long story short, I went to see many doctors. They took an MRI. They finally told me I was diagnosed with this condition called avascular necrosis, which is the degeneration of your hip joint. So I was sitting at the doctor's office and he told me, you now have the hip joints of a 90-year-old woman. Both your hip joints have totally degenerated. Yeah. You think about what you're going to do, but there's a high chance you're going to be living your life in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And at that time, when he told me that, I was like about 25, 26 years old. And eventually, I went for a total hip replacement to solve the problem. So what they had to do was to literally, talk about being gore, they had to cut off both my hip joints, because the joint is diseased and it's gone. Cut it off, and then they put a hip implant inside.
Just titanium screws.
Yes. It's like literally like an implant. It's almost like this long.
Wow, that's...
With a head, and then the thing goes inside the bone.
Wow.
And then with the femoral head and the cap.
Wow.
It's quite crazy. So, I can't even imagine that I went through that. It's 20 over years ago.
So you give yourself permission not to dance at that cruise ship. That's why you have stiff hips.
Yeah, I think I'm stiff hips. But it's also because I haven't moved for too long. I had to get a private trainer to work with.
So after cabin crew, you went to MNC, a multinational corporation in a bank. You were doing very well in sales.
Yeah. So I think at that time, I got introduced to a corporate job through a friend. And from there, like slowly climbed the ladder. From there, I then went to join a bank. And then from that bank, I got invited to join another bank. Yeah, so I was doing sales all the way, primarily corporate sales and account management, doing very decently well, quite favored by my boss, got good friends, pretty decently known in the company. Yeah, and I think that was the time where I decided that, hey, I think it's about time for me to educate myself even further and to go and get a degree, a diploma and a degree then. Got a little bit more serious with my career then.
Wow. I'm so happy that you have this journey, right, of healing, of recovery, of, like you're in better health now, you're doing well in your career. But when would you say is the turning point? What's the moment things really just turn around for you?
I think there were multiple turning points in my life. There were multiple. And I can't say it was a one-time, 180 degrees, but one little turning point was that, Cindy, you really messed up your own body. You really messed up your own body because of the fact that I was struggling with all the jealousy and all that stuff. I was dieting at the same time. So can you imagine how messed up my body is? I couldn't sleep. I was taking pills. I was into alcohol. I was dieting. And I remember the dieting was so bad that I would starve myself for 24 hours. I would then eat up a storm of food because you and I know we both like eating. And then after eating, I feel so guilty.
Sometimes.
I put myself inside and vomit out. So my body was so messed up. Yeah, so messed up. And it was, I remember losing weight at one point to almost 38 kgs. 38, that's a child's weight.
That's ridiculous, yeah.
And I remember sitting on the chair and feeling pain in my butt because literally the bones in my butt were jutting out on the chair. That was how painful it was. And I remember feeling like I was damn sexy. I have no idea why I felt that way. Yeah, so when the doctor... Because when we found out about the condition, the doctor had to ask me, what is your lifestyle? How did this happen? Because my mother was saying, hey, we don't have family history of this. How did this happen to you? So the doctor started probing my lifestyle and he eventually came to the conclusion that it was alcoholism, exacerbated by substance abuse. So that was the turning point that realized everything that has happened is you have done this to yourself, Cindy. Nobody did this to you. You messed up your own body. And now your body is coming back to haunt you.
So
that was one turning.
That's why we wrote this book, right? Inside. Because now you're talking about what's inside your body, inside your heart, inside your psychology. Really, it's because on the outside you seem to be doing very well. I'm not maybe, I don't know, if doing well, beating people up in school is considered doing well. Lah. But at least you had power
You have
over.
power, yeah.
You have power over something, right? Maybe not power to serve others, but maybe power over other people. But at least there was some power, some form of power, right? But then you were glamorous cabin crew, living a glamorous lifestyle, looking pretty on the outside. And then you were doing in a bank, MNC, you were top sales. Were you top sales?
Sometimes top sales. We always had a different ladder, right?
You're doing very well.
Yeah, it's really recognized. I think, and yeah, so I think one of the reasons why I also wrote this book was because I think my entire life, majority of my jobs rewarded me for being really good on the outside.
You're very attractive on the outside, like. That's a compliment.
But yet I was so messed up inside. It was almost like, I describe it as a apple that's so nicely polished, but inside is infected with parasites. I literally felt at one point of my life, and this was so strange. I remember staring at the ceiling and telling myself, Cindy, you're rotting. You're literally rotting on the inside. And I felt it, that something is very wrong with me. So multiple turning points, but the body breakdown was probably one of the first ones. My hair was falling out because of all that messing up with the body.
Yeah, so really, there's a moment you really have to take a long, hard look at yourself inside, what's inside you, and really excavate all that thing. But look, so many people are not willing to look inside themselves, right? Because the holding the mirror up to themselves is so scary because they're afraid of what they'll see in the mirror. It's just so scary, right? It's like many people, and I know I work with a lot of clients also, sometimes we try to help them excavate what's on the inside, and it's such a scary thing. Some people just want to avoid, they just want to continue to patch everything outside their very good-looking external life, but they just don't want to peer inside. How do you actually inspire people to, like, give people permission to look inside?
I had to work through it myself, right? So I think training ourselves to be speakers and book writers is a very cathartic process. I've got a couple of mentors and people that I really admire, and the thing I kept hearing is, Cindy, write your truth, Cindy, write your truth. And what is my truth? If I have to write my truth, I have to face the truth myself. What exactly was I struggling with at the time? Because one of my dear friends, also Mariana, she says, Cindy, if it's not your truth, I don't want to read it. So I'm like, okay, what would be a book that I want to read? So,
what were you struggling with then?
You mean while writing the book?
No, not just writing a book, but your truth, right? Talking about writing your truth.
I never knew that I had low self-esteem issues until when I was in my 30s. When I was younger, I never felt that I thought that I was so confident, girl. You're wearing short skirts and high heels and midriff, looking like a skankier version of Julia Roberts. But I just thought that this is just my style. But the truth is, I had low self-esteem. I wanted to get certain type of attention that was really no good. But any type of attention is attention that I wanted. Yeah, now that I'm grown up, I realized.
That's why you were jealous.
Yeah, I was jealous. I was competitive. I never would admit that I'm jealous. Who wants to admit that you're jealous? That's a very difficult thing to do, I think. For me, it was a very difficult thing.
So what showed up that light that you're jealous? What was that? What was the moment you realized you have this belief system? You have this BS?
I think it was being even toxic to people I'm jealous about, talking bad about them. And even doing little things that it's very unhealthy. So for example, I had this girlfriend whom I was very jealous of in the job I was in the airline. And there was like this guy that was going after her and going after me at the same time. Then I went to, and we were actually pretty good friends first before getting to know this guy. And because I was so jealous of her, I went to tell this guy bad things about her, which is very unbecoming, which is very not a good friend. A good friend wouldn't do that. So I became that person.
Wow.
Which I didn't even. Horrible. It's a horrible part of me.
So it's so refreshing for you to be able to admit this so openly right now. And of course, with your book framework, it's about the BS, right? It's like your boo story, your blind spot, your belief system, right?
Yes.
So which part of that, which BS was that?
I think this one was the bull stories. I told myself that since this guy is behaving like that, and since this girl is also behaving like that, then I should just do this. But the truth is, however they're behaving, is one issue and what I did is another issue. Yeah. So I think that was a both story. So
But you
that's why
wanted to win the guy's affection.
I
You want
wanted to
him
win,
like you
and
more
I
than
also
her.
wanted to make him see her badly. That's what I really wanted.
Because you wanted him to like you, or you wanted him to see her badly? Because if he sees her badly, obviously he'll come to you. What?
I think I wanted him to see her badly.
Is there a bit of
wanted him to see-
Schadenfreude there?
Sorry?
Is there a bit of Schadenfreude? Seeing people suffer, like you
Do
enjoy.
I want him to, actually, I don't know whether I already had another boyfriend, but this is so like toxic and like 20 over years ago. But I think a big part of it was this is one example.
Yeah,
I don't know whether
yeah.
I can immediately think of other examples,
Yeah.
but I know of, again, the struggle was a low self-esteem, the being always very jealous of people, always very self-occupied, the preoccupation of what will people see of me, how do I look like today, everything I do is doing for myself. It's just those behaviors. Buy expensive things you cannot afford, get yourself into shitloads of debt. It was always these kinds of things I was struggling with. And some people would say, okay, that's because I really enjoy high quality things. But you spent 30,000 buying this branded bag, and what's wrong with the other bag? So I think there's nothing wrong with doing it, but the point is at least own up to the fact as to why you do it.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah, because
You're really owning up your own BS.
Yeah, yes, because I always feel that own up to it. The fact that you cannot do sales is not because, okay, you're not great at it, that's one, but it's also because you crumble when you get rejected. At least own up to it. So that's why I always say that my book is not supposed for you to fix it. It's supposed for you to face yourself. And I truly believe that when we face ourselves in all honesty, we strip the BS of its power. Yes, it's there. I'm going to acknowledge that you're there. Then the question is, what am I going to do with this BS? But if you don't even want to acknowledge, it's just literally harming you in the dark.
Normally people would talk about their curriculum vitae, like CV, curriculum vitae. But what I'm reading is like today you're just coming on this podcast and sharing your curriculum horribilis. It's like all the mess up and all the screw
shit.
ups,
Oh my God, yeah,
all the shit.
exactly.
You're just coming out here and just owning up to all the shit you've gone through, you know. All the jealousy, all that bitchiness, everything. Like, so refreshing to hear that, no, Cindy. So refreshing to hear that because the moment you acknowledge it,
we're done.
you surface it to
We're
the
done.
light.
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
It's gone. It doesn't hold the power over you.
Exactly. You are no longer a slave to it.
Keep you out of the charades.
Yes, yes. And yeah, this is my struggle and I am still working on it rather than, I don't even want to acknowledge this is a struggle. Then you will always be having a foothold. And once it's a foothold in the long run, it becomes a stronghold. And then your whole life, you are being chained by that stronghold. But the fact is that we don't just want to admit it.
It's so freedom giving. I'm so empowering, so inspiring. I was very inspired by at your book launch when you shared that speech, and I just really go back and start writing down a lot of my BS. And really just owning it and just be really honest with myself. I think the most important person that we cannot be lying to is ourselves.
Yes.
Because we live with ourselves.
Yes, yes.
We carry the same thoughts, feelings, and everything to our bed every night. And sometimes like we numb it by video games, Netflix, alcohol, chocolates. We numb it by filling our calendars with stuff, but not actually sitting down and really realizing that it's all this toxicity and all this trauma that we actually haven't metabolized and released its hold on us that we keep carrying with us through our life. And that's why we live our life. We don't travel lightly. We carry this with us.
Yes, yes, exactly. And we don't know who we are. We don't know who we are. We cannot deal with the root of the problem. I was once on a cab with a good friend of mine, and then this person, we were just having a chat with the cab driver, and then the cab driver asked this friend of mine, so what do you do for a living? So this friend of mine, he does a regular corporate job. And this friend of mine lied to the driver and said that, I'm a business owner. Yeah, so after I got down the cab with this guy, I said, why did you lie to him? And I remember him telling me just for fun. And this was an example of somebody, for me, was somebody who refused to admit the fact that the reason why is because you're probably not very proud of yourself that you're a corporate person. That's why you have to lie. So I feel at that point, so it's more like You might want to question yourself and ask yourself, why did you have to lie about this? But a lot of people are very uncomfortable with probing. So we choose to hide. We don't look at ourselves in a mirror, or sometimes we put a filter over photos, which is commonly what we do. I do
Instagram,
it as well.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah, and after
life.
a long while, we become so used to this filter. We see life through that rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah.
We believe that filter.
I once had an ex-girlfriend who never ever leave home without makeup. Even if she goes to the supermarket, she needs to put on makeup. She got good makeup skills. She's already quite attractive. But she needs people to see her as always be very attractive. She's the type that she walks in MRT, all the head turns on. Yeah. Of course, that was very much younger when I was dating her, and it was not a very empowering relationship. Let's just put it that way. But I was clinging on to it for so long because at the time I wasn't so mature yet. And dating a very hot girlfriend like that gave me self-esteem. And I remember staying in that relationship way too long. Yeah, I don't want to put the blame on her. I think I was part of the mess myself also. I invited it upon my life, and I couldn't walk away from that relationship. Every time she threw a fit and tantrum, I always find myself apologizing to her, trying to maintain that relationship, because I feel like if I lost her, I will never find another one like that. Because she's pretty and everyone just worships her. And that was not very helpful for me. But yeah, sorry, I just went on this tangent.
No, I think it's great. It's great. So this also, because I had a relationship that was quite similar to this. So this is a very classic case of both of you were trauma bonding, right? So she probably had her own trauma. That's why she had that struggle. And you also had your own trauma. So when two trauma-stricken person come together, you get stuck for a long time.
Yep. And that takes a lot of healing. It takes a lot of healing to overcome that. And I'm glad I really looked deep inside myself and owned a lot of my BS before. I feel like a lot of us, right, our BS is, I use the black box. I know it's a very tragic example, not a good example, but I can't imagine this as a good one, because I can't imagine a better one, because every time I'm an aviation geek, so I always watch air crash investigation. Sorry, not to draw a full circle over your former cabin crew experience, but every time the aeroplane crash, right, investigators go in, they always look for what's called the black box, the flight data recorder, where they record what happened, so they can investigate and find out what happened, right? So that investigation process takes months. But what happens usually after we had a car crash, plane crash, or like a car crash, like metaphoric car crash or a plane crash, of the relationship broke up, I went to depression, I spiraled downwards, I almost even get suicidal over my former breakups. Then we tend to numb ourselves, we drink, we get a haircut, we go to the gym, try to look fit so that we look hot enough for the next partner. But we don't actually go and examine what are those emotional things that actually led to the relationship crashing like that. And so I once really take a very forensic approach to really go and say, what was the moment, what ran through my head? Why was I so addicted to this? Why was I always like pining for her love? When she rejected me, what caused me to go on this rage rampage? What caused me to go and stalk her? What forced me to go and do all sorts of things? And I really was so uncomfortable. It was so painful, but it was necessary. It was cathartic. I needed to release the whole of those toxic and non-productive behavior before I feel I'm ready to meet the right person. And I was going through this cycle over and over again, really replaying my trauma with my mom, trying to please them, trying to protect them. So I was very attracted to girls who are broken, because then I'll be able to protect them the way I couldn't protect my mom. And then I would then be attracted to girls who are very emotionally distant, because my mom was emotionally distant to me. She had her own emotional challenges, but she wasn't able to hold my emotions. I come back, I told Mommy, I'm very sad today, no friend, no one talk to me. She always tell me, don't think all these things, just focus on study, do better than other people in school, can really. So I always park aside my emotions and I just focus on my studies, as my mom tell me to do. So I always attracted to women who are very emotionally distant. So I'm trauma bonding both ways, you see. So I keep flipping between women who are very needy and I can give them love, but then because it's my rescuer complex, then I get attracted to women who would be very distant because that's familiar. And then I will find myself being the needy one, always needing their love until they just give up on me. and they dumped me. So I was just flitting through all these things before I really finally sat down and go through a lot of therapy, a lot of work before I clear out all this BS. So that's my own story of how I arrived to where I am.
That's wild, That's so wild. That's so wild. And I'm glad you did the work, because I know of people that I've known for years since we were in school days who are still stuck in their own BS, still not owning up to it, still dealing with the same problems, still on that vicious cycle, the same trauma, the same behavior, the same result.
Cindy, I see a lot of love in you, in how the love you put into writing this book, the love you put into your speeches, and the love that you are today. Because you mentioned before in one of our conversation that in spite of all this like beating people up and all that stuff, you are actually a very affectionate person. You are a very affectionate person. You really want to feel connected with people. You shared on social media couple of years ago, how your marriage was on the verge of breaking down because of COVID, and then you're having a lot of challenge with your husband. But for you to wear your heart on your sleeve and put all these things out there, it's just so brave of you. It's like it comes from a place of really truly wanting to connect. And your book is such a wonderful invitation for people to really connect with themselves, to really own their BS, so that they can free themselves, so that they can go out there and really live life more wholeheartedly, seek relationships, connect with people more wholeheartedly, and really find more fulfilling jobs, more sizzling relationships, more intimacy that you really crave. As we come to the end of this podcast, just ask a few quick fire questions.
Sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
What's the most powerful question you have ever been asked before?
Oh, this one was asked by a friend of mine. So I was talking about the husband and wife thing. I was having a lot of problems with my husband. I was finding fault with him. We were fighting endlessly. And then one of my very dear friends asked me, Cindy, what are you honestly afraid of? That question is so simple but so profound. And I realized because I was fighting with my husband about, why aren't you saving for retirement? Why are you not stepping up to be the leader in the house? I realized I was just afraid of retiring and having to work in McDonald's when I was 72. Because I think I've always grown up in a family that was in lack. And I didn't want that one day, if I grow old, I'm going to be in lack again. Yeah, that question was like, oh my God, you are projecting all your fear onto this person.
Once again, so much candor. Love it. Who is a mentor or supporter who has made the biggest difference in your life?
You've got so many nice mentors. Avi is one person that really breathed life into my journey and the book. So, kiss to Avi. Brenda been somebody who's very inspiring to me as well. I think she called out things in me that I probably didn't even see myself. Yeah. So those two, and I've got a lot of close friends that are like marriage mentors. And for me, because I'm somebody who can be very emotional and can be easily swayed, for me, I need a lot of good Christian principles to ground me. So I think a lot of the people that's impacted me the most is to remind me who I am of my identity in Christ. So I've got 2 or 3 very close friends that has done that for me very well.
Fantastic. Shout out to Avi and Brenda Benz also. Both of them are mentors.
Your mentors as well.
Mentors that really transformed my life and really made a big difference in my life as well. Okay, final question. What is one of the most courageous things you have done in your life that's made all the difference?
Quitting a corporate job with no savings and no solid plan B. That was the most courageous thing, because I was going to get married the next year. And we booked a hotel in Regis. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
And get this, I had no savings. I was just thinking, okay, when it comes to that time, something's going to happen.
What happened to your sense of lack?
I had no idea. I had no idea. So that was crazy. Something crazy I did.
Nice.
So in paper, very irresponsible. But I think in life, it was something I had to do, because it really forced me to, again, go back into survival mode and climb my way back up again.
Fantastic, Cindy. Where can people find out more about this book? And also, where can people connect with you personally?
Definitely on LinkedIn. I'm there quite a lot, together with you as well, on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you too. And so go to cindytien.com if you want to look for me. And my book is available at Amazon.
Fantastic. We'll put the links in the show notes below. And you can connect with Cindy. I highly recommend that you connect with Cindy. She's such a wonderful human being.
So much love.
So much love that you share. And yeah, may you continue to inspire more lives.
Thank you so much, Coen. Such a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Another great episode of the Wholehearted Podcast in the books. Speaking to Cindy is like speaking to a very, very close friend because I have known her for years. But somehow today's conversation provided me with a even more profound admiration and understanding for Cindy's predicament and the experiences that she has gone through. It's not every day that you get to talk to somebody who looks so polished right now, who openly admits that she used to be a gangster who beat up other children. Her story is really about how being wholehearted is not only about, okay, how can we get better and better and better, but it's really about owning all parts of ourselves, including the parts of ourselves that are not extremely palatable or savory. But only when we shine that light on ourselves, own our own BS, in her words, then we can free ourselves from the whole of the negative passed on us. Only then we can start to rewrite the script and change the inner narratives of our lives so that our external world can reflect that improved inner narrative. It's not about waiting to be perfect in order to show up. It's not about hiding away and shying away the parts of ourselves that we reject. It's really about shining the light, getting honest, and owning the whole parts of ourselves. I hope that today's conversation has inspired you as much as it has inspired me to move forward and embrace all of ourselves even if we are not perfect. Till the next episode, stay wholehearted. If you have enjoyed the show as much as I have creating it for you, I really appreciate if you can leave me a review wherever you're listening to this episode. And while you're there, why not subscribe so you will not miss a future episode? I'm on a mission to help people who have been told that they are too much, too sensitive, or too different reclaim their true voice and turn their lived experience into strength, clarity, and influence. If today's conversation stirred something in you, don't ignore it. That's your wisdom knocking. If you're a leader of a team or an organization ready to move beyond surface level performance and into wholehearted impact, I'd love to work with you. Invite me to speak, get coached, or explore how you can unleash your strengths and lead with courage, depth, and humanity. Till the next time, stay curious, stay brave, and stay wholehearted.